OKC storms back to take Game 4. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander put on a performance, and we get to talk about a series that's now tied 2-2. So let's talk about it in this live stream. So basically, this was a really big game for both teams, honestly. I know the Pacers obviously had a 2-1 lead, but if you go up 3-1, you're looking really good, right? And when you're playing a team like OKC, who I expected to win this game, I expected them to bounce back after Game 3. They've bounced back after pretty much every loss they've had in the playoffs. I think one. I think they are unbeaten after a loss in the playoffs, so that is definitely something to look for. But the Pacers, like in the first 3 quarters even, but I would say the first half especially, they looked like they were overpowering OKC. Like, they were really trying to get that 3-1 lead, right? OKC really closed it out in the end in the fourth quarter. Shai took over in those last 2 minutes. Like, I don't even know if it might have been the last minute. It was like the last 2 minutes or so, where Shai just took over and was like, no, we are not losing. Like, we are not losing this game, and that is what the MVP does. So the thing that OKC, sorry, my floor is creaking. The thing that OKC did in this game that kind of, or actually rather what the Pacers did in this game, is that they got a little over aggressive. So what I mean by that is, like, we know that throughout these playoffs, they have been allowing more physical play. And teams throughout the playoffs have gotten away with things that other coaches and other teams are like, wait, like, how is this allowed? This has never been allowed before, or at least not in the regular season recently, and whatever. So there has been a level of physicality where people are not even sure, players, coaches included, like, what is going to be called a foul, because it's been very different from recent playoffs. So because, you know, teams are getting to play physical, it's kind of like teams and players are just like trying things, right? Like, they're just seeing how physical they can be. And so I say all that to say, the Pacers, I felt like, especially in the fourth quarter, got way too physical. Even in the third quarter, they started to do it too. I felt like they got so overly physical, and I felt like that led to them losing this game. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like, it felt like physicality where they lost their composure, if that makes sense. Like, they weren't down. It's not like, you know, they didn't have the lead or anything like that. Like, they had the lead, but it felt like they were just trying to basically tell OKC, like, you're not going to win, and we are going to super hard foul you to break your confidence. That's the best way I can explain it. Like, it just felt like they were over aggressive for no reason, right? Like, OKC was looking a little shaky, right? Even though they were fighting back, the Pacers seemed to have control the whole game. So I felt like they started to just get over aggressive for no reason, and I felt like that led to OKC getting to the free throw line, getting more comfortable, and then basically leading to them, you know, coming back. Because then they got confident again, and the clock stopped, and the Pacers losing momentum, and Pacers are starting to complain, like, oh, this is a foul, like, I can't believe it, right? So, like, obviously the 2 fouls where, I think they were both on Ben Mathurin, to be honest, where he fouled before the inbounds play was not good, but I don't think that's the reason they lost that game. I really don't. That was basically how the game ended. Like, Ben Mathurin fouling before the inbounds play is basically a screenshot of what started to happen to the Pacers in the fourth quarter. It just felt like mental mistakes and just kind of I don't know, like, just not being themselves. I felt like, in a way, they were trying to be OKC. Like I said, I felt like they just got too aggressive on defense to the point where it, like, wasn't even their type of defense, if that makes sense. I hope I explained that properly. So with all that being said, OKC gets confident in the fourth quarter. You know, they kept it close enough the whole game where they could come back. And then, like I said, Shai takes over in the last 2 minutes or so, and then it's game over. And I want to go back to the third quarter. I believe it was in the third quarter when Obi Toppin fouled Alex Caruso. For some reason, all these crazy, like, hard fouls are on Alex Caruso. Don't ask me why, but they all end up being on him. So, in the last game, there was a foul by Aaron Nesmith on Alex Caruso where he was going up for a layup or a dunk or whatever it was. And he fouled him in the air, grabbed him, by the shoulders, and they went to look at it and they claimed that it was a regular foul. And I believe Richard Jefferson on the broadcast thought it was going to be flagrant, if I remember correctly. But basically, they deemed it a regular foul, right? Common foul, nothing to see there. I don't know if anybody else felt this way or thought this. I felt like in the third quarter when Obi Toppin did the foul on Alex Caruso, I felt like the foul Aaron Nesmith did was worse. And I felt like that should have been a flagrant foul. However, I think they called the flagrant on Obi Toppin because they were basically like, one, doing like a makeup call, I guess if you want to say, for the Aaron Nesmith one from last game. Like basically they were trying to be like, okay, listen, we know you want to play physical, but we're not going to let this get out of hand. Like we let the Aaron Nesmith one go last game. I know that's not how they're supposed to ref, but we all know that there's, bias somewhere in there. I'm not saying bias for OKC or for the Pacers. I'm saying just human bias. Like, okay, we can't let this get out of hand. You know what I mean? Can't let it get too physical. And we saw last game there was a play on Alex Caruso and everybody knows the play. Like the refs know the play. And so I felt like subconsciously, potentially, I'm not saying they did it like purposely, but subconsciously they're like, okay, we can't not call a flagrant here because Alex Caruso is getting hammered on these plays, and there has to be a point where we're like, this is a flagrant. Like you can't just keep doing this, right? And so I feel like they have, basically put their foot on it and said like, listen, you can be physical, but we can't have this. And so while I don't know if I thought that Obi Toppin foul was a flagrant, although it was very, very hard, it was very aggressive. Like I said, I feel like it's a combination of them trying to control the physicality a little bit. Like, I feel like it's gotten to the point where the refs in the whole playoffs have allowed so much physicality that now it's like they have to try to dial it back and control it a little bit. And I feel like it's hard to do once you let go of the ropes. Like, I feel like this should have been done in the first round. I understand that apparently the league wanted more physicality and this was, basically the memo. Like, allow more physicality and all this stuff in the playoffs. And that's fine. Regular season fouls that are like touchy fouls don't have to be fouls in the playoffs. We all agree with that. But like in the first round, it was clear in multiple series that like there were things that were not basketball plays. It was just basically playing football, right? Like people are just tackling people and just we're all watching it and we're like, what is going on? And because that was allowed so early on, I feel like it's gotten to a point where all the teams are used to playing like that in the playoffs now. And so when you get a play like Obi Toppin did, which may not be a flagrant foul compared to some other things that are going on, the refs are like, wait, hold on a minute. We can't keep allowing this. It's getting a little out of hand. And so I think they should have called a flagrant foul on Aaron Nesmith last game. Now, I don't know if that would have changed the outcome of the game, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like it should have been, made an issue earlier on. That's basically my point. So whether you think the Obi Toppin one was a flagrant, I think it was a really, really hard foul. If they call it a flagrant, even if they are not thinking about the Aaron Nesmith one, I can't blame them for calling it a flagrant because it was a rough foul. But I think it's just gotten to the point where they're like, well, hold on a minute. Like, we can't allow all this physicality. Because at the beginning of game 3, I felt like the same exact thing. They were telling OKC, you cannot, play this physical. Like, you can't. Because on the first play of the game, they called a foul on Shai, which was a foul. It was clearly a foul, right? An offensive foul. And then the next play of the game, they called a foul on Lou Dort, which, again, was a foul, but like, I feel like the Shai one didn't really bother me as much. Like, it was kind of clear that he was, pushing off or whatever. But the Lou Dort one, I felt like, although it was a foul, I felt like they let stuff like that go in game 1 and game 2. So I felt like they were just sending a message in game 3, like, OKC, you're not, like, we're not going to allow this kind of physicality, anymore from either team, but like, we're not going to allow it because like it's getting out of hand. And so I felt like the Pacers kind of took advantage in this game. I know I'm focusing a lot on that because I feel like this really had a lot to do with the turnaround of the game. Like, just Pacers getting overly aggressive for really no reason. So I felt like in this game, the Pacers tried to take advantage of, because they were not as physical, though they had been physical with OKC, but not as physical. They were like, maybe we can get away with it a little bit in this game in the second half and kind of just put OKC away, break their confidence, and we're at home, so we should get the favorable whistle. Whether that's fair or not, the home team usually gets the favorable whistle, or they should. Or not even they should, but like, that's kind of how it goes, if that makes sense. So anyway, so I feel like they just went away from what they do best, and that's kind of what cost them the game. OKC just chipped away, just did exactly what the Pacers have done to them, just stayed steady, kept it strong. They took Shai out with 7 minutes to go. They took Shai out in the fourth quarter to give him a rest so he could be ready to go, for the last few minutes. And he was on point, he was ready, he was on his game. And so I say all that to say, the Pacers, they really let one get away. They really did. I think OKC earned this win. Like, they crawled back into it themselves, right? Like, the Pacers were not just giving them this win. Fair enough. But you can't go back to OKC tied 2-2. You just can't, right? Like, if you get a 3-1 lead, it's basically over. Like, that's really hard to come back from, especially a team in OKC who's never been there before. And like I said in the last, video when I was talking about OKC, Chet and Jalen Williams have been doing the best they can, and I don't fault them for anything that they've done wrong, but they've been making rookie mistakes towards the end of the game. Like last game, they made rookie mistakes. There were some shots that Chet and Jalen took, which I don't blame them for because they've never been there before, but time and score, the pressure, like, they took some shots that they, in my opinion, shouldn't have taken. And that's something you learn with experience. And so, like, on a team like this where you're not 100% sure if down the stretch they are going to execute perfectly and properly because they've never been there before. Shai will do it, but will everybody else be able to if you load up on Shai? And so with that being said, this was a golden opportunity against a team like that, right? And they let it get away. They could not close it out, and it's easier said than done, fair enough. But like, I guess you could also go back to game 1 and OKC could say the same thing. Like, they're like, we really should have won game 1 and we should be up 3-1 right now. Although once you win game 1, the series ends up going differently, and that's a whole nother story. Someone said, I subscribe to you. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I very much appreciate that. Somebody said, how did you get so good at sports journalism? Oh, thank you. I just watch the NBA and I just watch basketball a lot and I just talk about it. I don't know. I just talk. It's the best explanation I can give you. I just love the game. I love watching and I love talking about it. I love talking about it with you guys. So that's really what it is. It's nothing other than that. I just love talking about the game with you guys. So yeah, OKC can basically say we should have won game 1, and that's all, fair enough. I think Shai really had a turning point in this game. I think he's been very good in this playoffs, and games 1 and 2, he was really, really good. Obviously, game 3 was not his best game, but he was still okay. Like, he was still fine. I feel like this game really showed his like leadership, because again, they did not have this game until the literal end. Like, they needed every single point of Shais. Like, I know they ended up winning by like 6 or whatever, but like, they needed to have like a 2-possession lead on the Pacers, because we know the Pacers could just pull up and hit a game-tying shot. We've seen it 100 times, right? So like, OKC needed to have a 2-possession lead on the Pacers at the end of the game in their building, because that's how you make sure the Pacers can't beat you. Because with that crowd and with their clutchness, you can't allow them to get a game-tying shot. So Shai, his leadership, his poise was so present in those last few minutes. He made it clear, we are not losing this game. I am the MVP. I am going to get this MVP, well, finals MVP, and we are going to win a championship for OKC, and that's it. That's basically what it felt like in the fourth quarter. He was like, we are not losing. And to have that ability to take over the game and basically say we are not losing is something that not everybody can do. Not everybody can do that. Just literally take over and say we are not losing. Like, that's a special skill to have. So I thought OKC was winning the series, so like, I'm not shocked that it's 2-2, obviously. I'm not surprised that, you know, we're going back to OKC tied. But at the same time, OKC might get their first championship ever. Like, this is really exciting for the franchise. Very, very exciting. A franchise that has not been to the finals since 2012 with KD, Russ, and Harden. Do you remember that team? That was the last time they were in the finals. They were the Baby Thunder, right? Now it's the Baby Thunder 2.0, and the Baby Thunder 2.0 are going back to OKC and have a chance to go up 3-2 in the NBA Finals. And I think they might do it. So thank you guys so much for joining this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon.